All right, so we're going to use our sum of cubes in order to solve this equation. So this one's going to end up having 4 solutions. And so to start off, I guess, what we need to do is write this thing in factored form. First off, notice both terms have an x, and both terms are divisible by 4. So we can go ahead and factor out a 4x, the greatest common factor, to start off on this one. So 4x, and then this first term is going to become an x cubed, and then 4 goes into 500, 125 times, all right, equals 0. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this x cubed plus 125, and this is going to factor using our sum of cubes. All right, we've got something to the third power, and 125, that's equal to 5 to the third power. So in our formula here, A is going to be x, and the B is going to be a 5. All right, so I've got 4x still. I've got that factor there. And it's going to start with x plus 5. X plus 5, close parentheses, and then it's x squared. It's a minus sign, and it's 5 times x, and then the last term is going to be 5 squared. So 5 squared is 25. All right, this thing is completely factored. All right, now because all of this is equal to 0, we can use the zero product property to find the actual solutions for x. So one of the solutions we find by taking 4x and setting that factor equal to 0. Divide by 4, and you get x equals 0. That's one of our answers. So if x equals 0, you get a 0 here, times this factor, which ends up being 0, and then times this whole thing, which makes the whole equation equal 0. To find our next solution, we'll take x plus 5. We'll take that factor and set it equal to 0. Just move the 5 over, and you get negative 5 as the solution. All right. So if x plus 5 is a factor, then negative 5 is the solution. And then the last one, we're going to take this quadratic here and set that equal to 0. I'll just pretend I set it equal to 0 like this. Now, you're probably tempted to try to go ahead and factor this, factor it into 2 binomials, but it will not factor. Like when you're doing the sum of cubes or the difference of cubes formula, most of the time you're going to get a linear factor, something that is easily solvable, but then your quadratic factor will not factor further. The way that you're going to have to find your solutions for this factor, it's got two solutions, is using the quadratic formula. All right, so I know it's tempting to try to factor it again, but it won't factor. Like there's not 2 numbers that multiply to 25 and add up to negative 5. All right, so we're going to have to apply the whole quadratic formula here to get our other 2 solutions. So negative b is going to be positive 5 plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is negative 5 times negative 5, and then minus 4ac, minus 4. A is a 1, and then c is a 25. Okay, all over 2 times a. Nice. Got to simplify this a little bit. The stuff inside the square root, we got 4 times 25, that's 100. And then we have 25 minus 100. All right. So that's going to be 5 plus or minus negative 75. All over 2. And then the last thing I'm going to do here is take my negative sign. I'll take that out of the square root, as an imaginary number. So I'm going to get 5 plus or minus, and that'll be an I square root 75 all over 2. All right, so that's my solution. And so that's actually my 2 solutions. So I found 1, 2, and then here's 3, 4. So if you want to check your answer doing this, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this nasty complex answer, and I'm going to go ahead and plug it in for x up here. So remember, you cannot use the alpha y equals menu when you're doing the complex numbers. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap the numerator in parentheses. 5 plus, and then I root 75. Remember, your I button is right here. So it's second and then a little decimal. All right, and then close parentheses on the top, divided by 2, stored to x. All right, and we'll just type in the original, and hopefully it equals 0. All right, 4x to the 4th plus 500x, and there you go. It equals 0. So it worked. All righty.